y'all. So today I wanted to talk to you about what is keeping you where you are right now. What's keeping you stagnant? What's holding you back? What is keeping you from going out and running after your biggest dreams, your biggest goals? And a lot of times, for a lot of us, that is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the possibilities, fear of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, some fear of some sort. And today, if I could, I just want to try to help you break free of that. One of the biggest leaps of faith that I have taken in my own life is deciding to leave my staff job and to travel for work. And so I was leaving my stability, leaving my stable income, leaving knowing how much I was gonna make, how much I had to work to make that amount, leaving my family, leaving my church home, leaving everything that made me comfortable, and stepping out and deciding to go into a very unstable environment, not knowing how much I was going to make, not knowing how much I was going to have to work, taking contract work instead, not knowing if I was going to have another contract lined up after the one that I took. But it was the best decision that I have ever made. And I will tell you this, a lot of times we have these ceilings that exist in our subconscious. We're not even aware that they exist. But there's this ceiling, this limit that you have placed on yourself. And often it just takes you to push past that ceiling to step out into the next level of your life. And so for me, my ceiling was my hometown and working this job that I had gone to school for so long to be able to obtain, and this career that I felt like I had always wanted. That was my ceiling. And then when I decided, okay, I kind of want to do travel work, I kind of want to travel nurse, when I decided, yes, I'm going to do it, it just shattered that ceiling. Even if I just went right above it, it shattered it. And so for me, it was like all these possibilities were running through my head. Of course, I was thinking of scenarios like I'm small, I'm by myself, I'm single, and I'm going to a city where I don't know anybody. What if I don't like these coworkers? Because the coworkers that I had before, I sure didn't like them either. Some of them. And so I was like, what if I step into this and I absolutely hate it? But I had to realize that I was prepared for it. I was equipped for it. I had to be confident in the skills that I had. And I knew that I could do it. And so once I pushed past that ceiling and I took the very small step, all it takes is one small step, your first step. Once you do that, it opens the door to so many more amazing things, because that ceiling is now gone, or it's moved up a level. And so for me, it was like I moved to St. Louis for my first travel job. It was only 3.5 hours away from my hometown. And so I could still go home. I wasn't that far. You know, I had stepped out just a little bit. And I remember after that, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can excel at this. I know what I'm doing. I know how to make money now. I know how to secure jobs now. I know how to assimilate to the culture of a new city now. I know that I can be by myself. I can take myself out. I'm comfortable with myself. I learned all of these things within a 3-month period of working at this place. And after that, I was like, send me to California, send me across country. I'm fine with that, because I knew now that I could do it. And now fast forward years later, I'm like, oh, send me to Guam for a travel assignment. I'm completely okay with that. I'm not afraid anymore of that. You know, I had all these fears at my staff job because I was so comfortable and I was really stagnant. But in all honesty, I was learning, I was gleaning, I was being prepared, and I was capable. I found out that I was capable. So a lot of times, if you're watching this and you're afraid to step out on faith, you're afraid to do the next thing, you just have to realize and you have to find out that God has prepared you, God has equipped you, and God will be with you, and you are capable. With Him on your side, you're capable of doing anything. And so I always want to refer back to God's word. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know this. And so today I want to dive in the word. We're going to look at the story of David. I'm going to be reading from 1 Samuel chapter 17. And who hasn't heard the story of David and Goliath? Just to give you a little bit of backstory, just in case, Goliath is a Philistine, and the Israelites and the Philistines are fighting. Now, Goliath is 9 foot 9 inches tall, humongous. And so that's why you hear to him referred to as like the giant Goliath. So Goliath is huge, and he's very confident in his skills. He's a trained warrior, and he even like brags and boasts and makes a threat, and he says, you Saul is the king at the time, he's the king of the Israelites, find one man who can defeat me. Find one man, and me and my people, we will be your servants. So he offers up like all the Philistines will serve you, because in his mind, of course, no one can defeat him. And so David is the son of Jesse. Jesse has 8 sons in total, and 3 of Jesse's sons, the eldest sons, are already fighters. They're already warriors on the battlefield with Saul. And so it seems as though the obvious choice is one of the warrior sons, right? Saul is going out and he's trying to find somebody who can match Goliath's threat, who can go out and actually defeat him. And so why wouldn't he choose one of the eldest sons? Well, David is the youngest son, and he isn't a fighter at all. So it seems he's not a fighter. His job, what he does is he tends to his father's sheep. So that's seemingly a very non-violent thing, and he's not really building any fighting skills, so it seems, like I said. And so he's the least likely to be chosen. And so that's the backdrop for the story. So 1 Samuel chapter 17, we're going to skip down to verse 32, and that's where I'm going to begin reading. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." So I want to take a deeper look at this story. No one's really confident in David, but David is very confident in himself. And his confidence is rooted in the fact that he knows that he has been prepared for this. He's been prepared where he is, therefore he is well equipped for where he's going. He knows that God was with him in the preparation period, so he knows that God will be with him in the next phase of his life. And that's what I want us to glean from this story. That's what I want us to be able to apply to our own lives. A lot of times we're not confident to move into the next phase. We're not confident to put ourselves out there. No one around us is confident in us. Our parents may not think we can do it. Our friends may not think we can do it, but you feel called to it. And I think a lot of times what we need to know is that where you are right now has purpose, and it has equipped you, and God is with you, and God is preparing you for something. You know, whether you don't see the point of the job and you don't understand why your boss is asking you to do these tasks that, you know, aren't really in your job description, or you feel uncomfortable around certain people, and so you're having to build these communication skills, but you have no idea that excelling at communication is going to help you in the next phase of life where God is taking you. So I think a lot of times we need to look at where we are instead of being dissatisfied with it, and instead of like not really holding it in a high regard, and realizing that God is preparing you in this time period. And I will say for sure, I have been guilty 100% of that. There are times when, you know, back in the day, I was praying and begging God, like, please, God, help me get through nursing school. Please, God, help me pass my nursing boards. Please, God, let me get this nursing license. Please, God, let me get this nursing job. And then I get out into the fields, and there are days when I have it work and it is hard. And I'm like, oh my God, I have cleaned this person up 6 to 7 times already. Like, why did I choose this? Or, you know, just anything. You're dealing with anything at work and you become frustrated and you're just like, why? And you're whiny and you're not being a steward of the blessing that you asked God for. I'm going off on a tangent, but seriously, you know, we need to realize that God has you here for a reason, and God is preparing you for something else. And do it well. Do it as unto the Lord. The Bible tells us that. Make sure that you are being a good steward over what God has given you, because just like, you know, David is out in the field and he's tending to the sheep. Who knows if that was David's life plan? Who knows if David thought that this is what he was going to be doing forever? But he did that task, and he did it well, and he passed the test during that period, and that helped him be prepared for the very next period of his life. As we read on, you know how the story ends. David does end up defeating Goliath. And so I challenge you to look at those places in your life where you feel tested, or you feel challenged, or you don't understand why you're there, and realize that God has you there for a reason, and he's preparing you for something even greater. If he's called you for something else, trust that he's preparing you in this time period. And so when it comes time to step out in faith to the next thing, you don't have to be afraid to do it. There's no need for that, because God has prepared you, God has equipped you, and just like God was with you then, God is with you now, and God will be with you from here on out into the next phase, and the next phase, and the next next phase. I read this amazing book by T.D. Jakes. It's called Step Into Your Destiny. And there's so many amazing examples and illustrations that he uses, but one that hit me the most was a discussion that he was having with his son. And he said his son came to him and he was going back and forth about what he was supposed to be doing with his life. I do the same exact thing. I'm like, am I in God's will? Am I not? Is this what God wants me to do? Is this God's path? So anyways, he goes to T.D. Jakes and he's like, okay, I think I'm gonna do this, but I'm not sure if this is the thing. And T.D. Jakes replies to him and he says, well, son, either it's the thing or it's the thing that will lead you to the thing. And I think a lot of times what holds us up is that we're over analytical, we're in our own minds, we're our own worst enemy, and that's keeping you where you are because you're contemplating back and forth about something instead of just stepping out and actually taking a leap of faith and actually doing something. And I just want to ensure you, if you are praying to God, you're including him in your life decisions, you're asking for discernment, you're asking to be led, you're being guided by the Holy Spirit, you're on his path. Your path may not be straight and narrow. It may not be like anyone else's. Don't look over to the left and think that, oh, I can't do it because so-and-so did it this way. I discussed that in the last video. But just be ensured that you are being led by God. And whether, you know, this place where you're at is the final stop where he has somewhere else and you're just on the journey to that place, you are being led by him. You're being used by him. You are being prepared by him. I just want to refer back to the story of David. Wherever you are, God is using you and God is preparing you. The challenges that you are facing where you are now are going to be needed for the place that God has for you. And so I just pray that you all are encouraged by this. Stop getting in your own way. Stop holding yourself back. Be encouraged and start wherever that is for you. Whether you need to start in the research phase and look up how to do it, but don't stay there. Start taking small steps to start processing and start being able to put out or start being able to apply and do whatever it is that God is calling you to do. And just realize that God has prepared you. God has equipped you. He hasn't left you in the past, so he's not going to leave you in this next phase. I can refer to my own life again. Like when I was at my staff job, I did not realize how much I was being prepared for the journey that I was on. You know, I was building my faith super strong in church. I was in this place where I felt like I was okay with myself. I was okay to be by myself. I was also saving a ton of money. And so if I did get to a place where I didn't have a certain job, or when I did first get there and I had to pay first and last month's rent, or, you know, just any expense that came up before I started getting paid as a travel nurse, I was completely fine because I had already had that nest egg. And so a lot of times God is preparing us where we are. I just want to reiterate, God is preparing us where we are for where we are going. And so trust in your ability, trust in his ability to use you, trust in his ability to work through you. Make sure you are in alignment with him. And lastly, believe, because sometimes that's all we need to get out there and to be able to do it. Whether you are in the phase where you need to start researching, whether you are in the phase where you have researched and you've been stuck there and you know that you're being stagnant and you know that you need to take that step, take your first step. I'm telling you, you will break that ceiling, that subconscious place in your mind that's keeping you where you are, the place where you feel so comfortable and it's so cozy and you've got that warm safety blanket. Step out on faith, push past it. You can do it. You have been prepared. You have been called to this. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you leave encouraged. I hope that you will subscribe below and do not miss my next video. Everywhere you can follow me will be listed below in the description box, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.